Good evening, class. It's about time for us to get started, isn't it? Well, I hope you've had a great week so far. I'm your professor, Joni Hannigan. I'm actually located in Houston, Texas. We're a little bit on a time delay, but I actually stay up pretty late. Anytime you need to get a hold of me, the best way is to email me. And if I don't respond within a reasonable amount of time, or when you need me, go ahead and text me. My telephone number is on the syllabus that is in Blackboard. By this time, you should be reading your emails from me. You've received at least one, possibly two if you're watching this video. And please note that when I do send an email with a video or post a video in your learning activities, that you should watch it. There might be questions about information that's contained in the video that will pop up periodically in places that you may not expect. So please keep yourself informed by looking at the video. I'm going to start tonight by giving you a brief introduction of myself, and then just go through some things that you'll encounter in the text this week, and maybe answer some questions ahead of time that you may have about your assignment, and give you some heads ups and some tips as we get started in this class. I do apologize for not getting started with you earlier. I've been a little bit under the weather. The ragweed is rather intense here in Texas, and so I didn't want to come to you with tissues and craziness all over my face. So got a little bit of a slow start this week, but hopefully you've had a chance to jump into your other courses and maybe even just take a few days break after your intense semester. So I'm going to just get started by telling you a little bit about myself. I was actually born in Alhambra, California. I grew up in Southern California, like some of you, maybe not all of you. Some of you are coming to us from other places besides Southern California. So I am truly a California girl. Was born in 1961, went to school in various places there in Southern California. Went to Holy Angels right across from the Santa Anita racetrack, and finished out at Arcadia High School. So you know that much about me. I actually did a brief stint in Arizona, though. Went to school in Phoenix before I came back to Arcadia to finish out. After being at Arcadia High School, I joined the Navy and thought it would be a great way to get an education. And back then, they were actually talking about drafting women into the military. And so, being a fine, independent young woman that I was, I thought I would just jump right in. And instead of drafting me, I thought I would just volunteer. I'm very patriotic. So I joined the military, went into the Navy, signed up to be a cryptologic technician operator, which that can just be shortened to, believe it or not, I was a bit of a techie with a bent for research and a little bit of intel. So I had an interest in learning about things that were maybe a little bit beyond me at the time, but very interesting. When anybody says we're going to kill you for your secrets, you know, you get real interested in that kind of stuff. So suffice it to say, I had a pretty good time at that. Probably the best thing that happened to me during that time was Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines all trained together. And so what happens when you're 18 and you're young? Well, for some of us, we fall in love. I met my husband, John. During that time, he was Army, I was Navy, and we were stationed on an Air Force base. And that was 35 years ago. And so we were married, and we had 2 children. We've done a bit of travel. We lived in Germany for a few years. And I kind of went about things a little bit differently. After he had been in 12 years, and we'd been married 7 or 8, he's just a few years older than me, only about 5. We actually went to college and earned our degrees, and I started teaching school when my children were actually in school, and started freelance writing. And at that point, became more and more interested in teaching and writing, and so I began to do both. So I've been a teacher and a writer for a number of years. About 13 years ago, I was offered an opportunity to be a newspaper editor in the state of Florida for a niche publication. And so I became a full-time managing editor for a statewide publication that had a very small staff but a very large footprint, is how we used to term it, that partnered with a national news agency. That took me literally all over the world, and I love to travel. By that time, my children were out of high school. Um, in the middle of that, my son was married, and I had a grandson. And so, literally, my travels took me to Israel, to Iraq, to Brazil, um, just to a lot of different places and all over the United States. So, I've done quite a bit of travel, enjoyed every moment of it, did some travel before that time as well, and still travel quite a bit. I love writing about people. I love teaching about people. I love meeting people and talking about what they're doing, what God is doing in their life, and how He motivates them and what they find encouraging. So that's kind of what drives me to do what I do. I love helping people to reach their full potential. And that's one of the reasons I've always had this dual passion for writing and for teaching. Oh, and somewhere along the line, I mean, we did get our degrees, my husband and I both. First, my undergraduate was from Hannibal Grange College in Missouri, which by you might find interesting. I returned there years later and just finished up a 10-year term as a trustee there. So that was kind of interesting. And then I continued my education after that, and all while I was a parent, by the way, but continued my education and went on to earn my master's from Park University in Parkville, Missouri, in education. And so that combined with 30 years of experience in mass media and journalism has taught me a lot about people, a lot about journalism. I have a lot of colleagues out there everywhere that I still continue to learn from every day and interact with in the media world. And also have a lot of students, former students, that are serving in positions all over the country that I relate to. Anyway, enough about that, enough about me. I hope to learn a lot more about you when I look at your videos and am able to hear about you, and I'm so excited to do that. Oh, and I probably left the best part out. Well, one of the best parts out. Told you about my husband. Did not tell you I have a daughter, wonderful daughter, who just got married 2 weeks ago, Saturday. So I've been a little busy with that. And Belinda and a son, John. And my son, John, actually got married 10 years ago. And I have 4 wonderful grandchildren. Joey, 8, Madeline, 6, Ella, 2, and Charlotte, 10 months. So that's why you see all this Nana stuff in the background. See all that stuff that says Nana? They call me Nana. Anyway, so enough about me and what drives me for now. One of the videos that I'm going to have you watch this week, because I want you to understand that giving speeches does require some work. You should put some time into the things that the text will talk about, and we'll review, preparing, doing research, and so forth. But one kind of speech that you have learned about already in your reading, or you will shortly, is an extemporaneous speech. And to kind of give you some calm for those nerves that you might be developing already, I want to show you a 1:29 speech that my grandson gave when he was 4 years old. And he finished up a semester of homeschooling. My son and daughter-in-law were waiting for a space to open up at a private school in town. They had just moved to Jacksonville, Florida. And So they homeschooled him for a semester. Matter of fact, we all kind of chipped in and helped. And at the end of that, we held a graduation ceremony for him. And fortunately, I was holding my camera and was taking pictures of this graduation ceremony. And my son just kind of asked him, "Well, do you want to say anything?" And he did. The child gave a 1 minute and 29-second impromptu, extemporaneous speech that would rival anything that anybody could ever be prepared for. And he had not been prepared by anyone for that speech. He just, out of the mouth of babes, it rolled. And so sometimes I think that's the best way. But certainly it's not the only way, and certainly not the best way when we have a specific thing that we need to say. Now, moving on, I did want to reassure you that the syllabus actually had one textbook listed, and that would be the 7th edition. As we were actually preparing the syllabus, though, for this class, there was another textbook that was actually being published, and that was the 8th edition. And so I know either of the editions will work. The page numbers may be slightly different, but the chapters will be absolutely the same. And I will let you know if there's anything that's significantly different that might alter any of the questions and answers. So I will point those things out to you. So if you have either the 7th edition or the 8th edition, you'll be absolutely fine. So rest assured, you'll be great with that. Okay, so I wanted to let you know that. I also wanted to do a little bit, just slight review, and I have to remember which textbook I marked here. I think I marked the 8th edition. I did. Good for me. Just to let you know that you're going to be preparing your speech using the canon, the various canons that the text mentions, starting on page 16, at least in the 8th edition, they're on page 16. And the various canons are simply relating to the canon of invention, and that's simply creating your speech, disposition, or arrangement, and that would be how you set up your speech, how you decide, what goes first. Basically, it's just like preparing an outline for a paper. So make sure that you pay attention to that part. Using suitable language is another canon, the canon of style. And that is simply that, when you're speaking to an audience of your peers, you're not going to take on the style and the mannerisms, even the speaking like you're speaking to little children. You're not going to talk down to people or necessarily take on such a style of, say you're standing on a street corner and you're rapping with your friends. You're not going to do that in an academic classroom. And I say that with all due respect. There are forms of speech that are appropriate for various audiences, but consider your audience when you're giving your speech to your classmates. Your memory, learning the speech. If it's a 1.5-minute speech, you're not necessarily going to write it out necessarily. If you absolutely need to, try to make sure that you memorize it. If anything less than about 3 minutes, it would be appropriate to memorize your speech. If it makes you so nervous, however, that you just cannot do it, then manuscript it out and then at least try to remember key phrases that you can go back to by simply looking at your paper, just like I did just now. See, I just kind of glanced back over. And then performing for an audience, that would be your canon of delivery. How are you going to perform it? Make no mistake about it. I did not just sit down in front of my computer to do this. It took me a good 15, maybe 20 minutes. Preparation is important. I tell that to all of my students who are getting ready to prepare for an online class, that are going to prepare to do videos. What you see is is what you get, but there's some preparation that goes into this. And I do want you to pay attention to this point. I've thought about filming a whole different YouTube on this, but stop for a moment and pause. If you're just listening to my voice, and I can be kind of monotone, especially if it's late at night or you're sitting in the car or you're in the library, stop for a moment and think. I'm going to give you some very important information here. Every video that you submit for a class is important, especially this class. This is a speech class. Speech. Important. Now, you might be thinking, if this is a speech class, why is the video that I'm having to prepare so important? That's not even fair. If this was just a class, I would just kind of show up. Yes and no. You would show up, but you would be careful about your appearance. You would make sure that you're dressed appropriately. Definitely. Come on, I know. You'd go into your closet. You'd find a suit or something, or, I mean, suits are kind of thing of the past, but you'd find an appropriate outfit to wear. Most definitely. You would stress over how your hair looked that morning. I know. Men and women. We would. We'd be putting every hair into place, plucking those eyebrows, caring about those fingernails, getting that lipstick on just right. We would. Looking at our neckline. This is important, though, for a video especially, because this is a presentation you're making for a class. And the environment is important because this is how you're going to come across. It is also important to make sure that your entire environment is flattering to you, is conducive to what you're saying, communicates the message that you want it to communicate. Let me help you with that for a minute. Look around and what do you see? Well, I hope you see kind of a library. It's actually my office. It's my home office. I wish it were daytime and I could flood it with light. If I flooded it with light, though, from the back room, which is my sitting room here, because it's nighttime, you'll get a lot of mirrory stuff off of my armoire. So I didn't do that. I didn't turn that light on. But at least you have the appearance kind of an office. What you have up on the bookcases back there are actual original prize-winning photos that I've taken, because I'm also a photographer, a photojournalist. You should have some picture frames behind me that talk about Nana. That is because I'm a grandmother, and I'm very proud of that. One of the pictures on the wall behind me is of a 4th century baptistry. So if your eyes did start wandering, as our eyes are prone to wander, when people are talking to us and we've never seen them before and we've never seen their environment before, they're going to wander to things that hopefully help communicate who I am and what I am. I don't have to even hold props in my hand to tell you that. See, that's the difference between setting up your environment and forcing your environment on somebody. I don't have to hold a surfboard in my hand. I don't have to have a prop. I don't have to sit here with a book in my hand. They're around me. I'm in a comfortable chair. I'm actually in my office chair at my desk with my laptop propped up because I haven't gotten the stand for it yet to stand up because I switched computers. This camera's a lot better than the one on my Apple that's sitting on my desk. Behind me are actually, I'm going to do a switch around here and show you because this is like fun for me. Behind me are 2 monitors. There's the one with my grandson. Okay. That are my workstation. Just so that you can see what my entire office is all the time. Oh, that was bad. That was a bad shot. But see how, I can go all the way around and not get exactly the shot that I want. That's too many books. That's way too many books. And you have the bottom of my face here. That's like, oh my gosh, that looks horrible. Okay? That looks really kind of bad because I'm going off in this direction. I mean, that's not balanced. This is how I kind of set it up. And I kind of scoot over just a bit. And that's a little better. Now I'm kind of off. Now you guys got me all the way off. Okay. Okay. See what happens when you get messed up in the middle of your speech. Okay. But that's what I wanted you to see, that it takes some preparation. So prepare to prepare when you're getting ready for your speech. Have some preparation time in advance. Do your hair. Check out your clothes. Make sure that the physical setting is okay. Now, what I didn't talk about is the actual preparation of the speech itself. You can do all the packaging in the world, but if your content is not good, if those cookies in that package are not well prepared, not well mixed, not well baked, then it's no use having a great package. So make sure you also pay attention to the content of your speech. And first of all, one of the things you're going to be asked over and again is, how do you calm your nerves? How do you relieve your stress? Something your textbook won't tell you is something that I'll give you a little bit of a clue about. Prayer. And so on that note, I will end tonight's greeting prayer. I always pray before any presentation, before any story I'm going to write. I simply pray. Because, see, God tells us, be anxious in nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace that passes all understanding will be yours. So that's my wish for you, that you'll have that peace, because you'll be so full of prayer that you will know the peace. Thank you and good night.